So Grok is a word from a Heinlein novel, Stranger in a Strange Land. And it's used by a guy who was raised on Mars. And the word Grok is to sort of fully and profoundly understand something. That's what the word Grok means, fully and profoundly understand something.
Correct engineering team and all the best AI talent. There's only one thing we need, is a big intelligence comes from big cluster. So we can reconvert the entire progress of XAI, now replacing the benchmark on the y-axis to the total amount of training flops. That is, how many GPUs we can run at any given time to train our large language models, to compress the entire internet. So after Grok 2.
All human knowledge, really.
That's right.
Yeah, internet being part of it, but it's really all human knowledge, everything.
Yeah, the whole internet fits into a USB stick at this point.
It's like all the human tokens, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very soon into the real world.
Yeah.
So, we didn't have a lot of time, right, because we wanted to give you Grok 3 as quickly as possible. So really, we realized we have to build the data center in about 4 months. It turned out it took us 122 days to get the first 100K GPUs up and running, and that was a monumental effort to be able to do that. We believe it's the biggest fully connected H100 cluster of its kind. And we didn't just stop there. We actually decided that we need to double the size of the cluster pretty much immediately if we want to build the kind of AI that we want to build. So we then had another phase, which we haven't talked about publicly yet. So this is the first time that we're talking about this, where we doubled the capacity of the data center yet again. And that one only took us 92 days. So we've been able to use all of these GPUs, use all of this compute to improve Grok in the meantime. And basically today we're going to present you the results of that, the fruits that came from that.
That's right.
So let's
so all the paths, all the roads leads to Grok 3. 10x more compute.
More than 10x, really.
Yeah, really.
Like maybe 15x-ish.
Yep, compared to our previous generation model. And Grok 3 finished the pre-training early January. And we started, the model is still currently training, actually. So this is a little preview of our benchmark numbers. So we evaluated Grok 3 on 3 different categories. AMY, American Invitational Math Examination, hosted once a year. And if we evaluate the model performance, we can see that the Grok 3 across the board is in a league of its own. Even its little brother, Grok 3 Mini, is reaching the frontier across all the other competitors. So you would say, well, at this point, all these benchmarks, you're just evaluating the memorization of the textbooks, memorization of the GitHub repos. How about the real-time usefulness? A platform called Chatbot Arena for 2 weeks. I think the entire X platform at some point speculated this might be the next generation of AI coming our way. So how this Chatbot Arena works is that it strips away the entire product surface, right? It's just raw comparison of the engine of those AGIs, the language models themselves, and place an interface where the user will submit one single query, and you get to show 2 responses. You don't know which model they come from, and in the end, you make the vote. So in this blind test, Grok 3, an early version of Grok 3, already reached like 1,400. No other models has reached an ELO score, head-to-head comparison to all the other models at this score. And it's not just one single category. It's 1,400 aggregated across all the categories in chatbot capabilities, instruction following, coding. So it's #1 across the board in this blind test. And the best AI need to think like a human. You need to contemplate about all the possible solutions, self-critique, verify all the solutions, backtrack, and also think from the first principle. That's a very important capability. So we believe that as we take the best pre-trained model and continue training it with reinforcement learning, it will elicit the additional reasoning capabilities that allows the model to become so much better and scale not just in the training time, but actually in the test time as well.
And this is totally unscripted, by the way.
That's the entirety of the prompt, which should be clarified, is that there's nothing more than that.
Yeah, that you can see here, generate code for an animated 3D plot of a launch from Earth, landing on Mars, and then back to Earth at the next launch window. And we've now kicked off the query, and you can see Grok is thinking. So part of Grok's advanced reasoning capabilities are these thinking traces that you can see here. You can even go inside and actually read what Grok is thinking as it's going through the problem, as it's trying to solve it.
Yeah, we should like we are doing some obscuration of the thinking so that our model doesn't get totally copied instantly. So there's more to the thinking than is displayed. Yeah.
Yeah, and because this is totally unscripted, there's actually a chance that Grok might make a little coding mistake, and it might not actually work. So just in case, we're going to launch 2 more instances of this. So if something goes wrong, we'll be able to switch to those and show you something that's presentable. Right, so we're kicking off the other 2 as well. And like I said, we have a second problem as well. Yeah, actually one of our favorite activities here at XCI is having Grok write games for us. Not just any old game, any game that you might already be familiar with, but actually creating new games on the spot and being creative about it. So one example that we found was really, really fun is create a game that's a mixture of the 2 games, Tetris and Bejeweled. So
this is maybe an important thing. Like there's obviously, if you ask an AI to create a game like Tetris, there are many examples of Tetris on the internet that have, or a game like Bejeweled, whatever. It can copy it. What's interesting here is it achieved a creative solution combining the 2 games that actually works and is a good game.
Yeah,
we're seeing the beginnings of creativity.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that we can recreate that.
But hopefully it works. Yeah.
Hopefully it
would be
works.
Embarrassing if it doesn't.
So actually, because this is a bit more challenging, we're going to use something special here, which we call Big Brain. That's our mode in which we use more computation, which use more reasoning for Grok, just to make sure that there's a good chance here that it might actually do it. So we're also going to fire off 3 attempts here at solving this game, at creating this game that's a mixture of Tetris and Bejeweled. Yeah, let's see what Grok comes up with.
I've played the game. It's pretty good. You're like, wow, okay, this is something.
Yeah. So while Grok is thinking in the background, we can now actually talk about some concrete numbers. How well is Grok doing across tons of different tasks that we've tested it on. So we'll hand it over to Tony to talk about that.
Yeah, OK, so let's see how Grok does on those interesting, challenging benchmarks. So reasoning, again, refers to those models that actually thinks for quite a long time before it tries to solve a problem. So in this case, around a month ago, the Grok 3 pre-training finished. So after that, we worked very hard to put the reasoning capability into the current Grok 3 model. But again, this is very early days, so the model is still currently in training. So right now, what we're going to show to people is this beta version of the Grok 3 reasoning model. Alongside, we also are training a mini version of the reasoning model. So essentially, on this plot, you can see the Grok 3 reasoning beta and then Grok 3 mini reasoning. The Grok 3 mini reasoning is actually a model that we train for much longer time. And you can see that sometimes it actually performs slightly better compared to the Grok 3 reasoning. This also just means that there's a huge potential for the Grok 3 reasoning because it's trained for much less time. So let's actually look at how it does on those 3 benchmarks. So Jimmy also introduced already. So essentially, we're looking at 3 different areas: mathematics, science, and coding. And for math, we're picking this high school competition math problem. For science, we actually pick those PhD level science questions. And for coding, it's also actually pretty challenging. It's competitive coding and also some lead code, which is some code interview problems that people usually get when they interview for companies. So on those benchmarks, you can see that the Grok 3 actually performed quite well across the board compared to other competitors. So it's pretty promising. These models are very smart.
Yeah. So Tony, what are those shaded bars?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked this question. So for those models, because it can reason, it can think, you can also ask them to even think longer. You can spend more what we call test and compute which means you can spend more time to reason, to think about a problem before you spit out the answer. So in this case, the shaded bar here means that we just ask the model to spend more time. You can solve the same problem many, many times before it tries to conclude what is the right solution. And once you give this compute or this kind of budget to the model, it turns out the model can even perform better. So this is essentially the shaded bar in those plots.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think this is really exciting, right? Because now, instead of just doing one chain of thoughts with AI, why not do multiple all at once?
Yes.
So that's a very powerful technique that allows to continue to scale the model capabilities after training. And people often ask, are we actually just overfitting to the benchmarks?
Yes.
So how about generalization?
So yes, I think, this is definitely a question that we are asking ourselves, whether we are overfitting to those current benchmarks. Luckily, we have a real test. So about 5 days ago, AMY 2025 just finished. This is where high school students compete in this particular benchmark. So we got this very fresh new competition, and then we asked our two models to compete on the same benchmark, at the same exam. And it turns out, very interestingly, the Grok 3 reasoning, the big one, actually does better on this particular new fresh exam. This also means that the generalization capability of the big model is stronger, much stronger compared to the smaller model. If you compare to the last year's exam, actually this is the opposite. The smaller model kind of learns the previous exams better. So yeah, so this actually shows some kind of true generalization from the model.
That's right. So 17 months ago, our Grok 0 and Grok 1 barely solved any high school problems.
That's right.
And now we have a kid that just already graduated. The Grok is ready to go to college. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it won't be long before it's simply perfect. The human exams won't be hard. They'll be too easy.
Yeah. And internally, we actually, as the Grok continually evolves, we're going to talk about what we're excited about. But very soon, there will be no more benchmark left.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that's quite fascinating, I think, is that we basically only trained Grok's reasoning abilities on math problems and competitive coding problems. Mm-hmm. Right? So very, very specialized kinds of tasks, but somehow it's able to work on all kinds of other different tasks. So including creating games, lots and lots of different things. And what seems to be happening is that basically Grok learns this ability to detect its own mistakes in its thinking, correct them, persist on a problem, try lots of different variants, pick the one that's best. So there are these generalizing abilities that Grok learns from mathematics and from coding, which it can then use to solve all kinds of other problems. So that's pretty.
I mean, reality is the instantiation of mathematics.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And one thing we're actually really excited about that going back to our founding mission is, what if one day we have a computer just like Deep Thought that utilize our entire cluster just for that one very important problem in the test time. And all the GPU turned on, right? So I think back then we were building the GPU clusters together. You were plugging cables. And I remember that when we turned on the first initial test, you can hear all the GPUs humming in the hallway. That's almost feel like spiritual.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool thing that we're able to do, that we can go into the data center and tinker with the machines there. So for example, we went in and we unplugged a few of the cables and just made sure that our training setup is still running stably. So that's something that I think most AI teams out there don't usually do, but it's actually totally unlocks like a new level of reliability and what you're able to do with the hardware. So
okay, so when are we going to solve Riemann?
So the easiest solution is to numerate over all possible strings. And as long as you have a verifier, enough compute, you'll be able to do it. But
okay.
My projection will be...
What's your guess? What does your neural net calculate?
So my bold prediction, so 3 years ago I told you this, I think now it's 2 years later, two things are going to happen. We're going to see machines win some medals.
Yeah.
That's Turing's Award.
Absolutely.
Fields Medal, Nobel Prize, with probably some expert in the loop, right? So the expert uplifting.
Do you mean so this year or next year?
Okay.
That's what it comes down to, really.
Yeah. I mean,
So it looks like Grok finished all of its thinking on the two problems. So let's take a look at what it said. All right, so this was the little physics problem we had. We've collapsed the thoughts here, so they're hidden. And then we see Grok's answer below that. So it explains, it wrote a Python script here using matplotlib, then gives us all of the code. So let's take a quick look at the code. Seems like it's doing reasonable things here, not totally off the mark. Solve Kepler says here, so maybe it's solving Kepler's law numerically. Yeah, there's really only one way to find out if this thing is working. I'd say let's give it a try. Let's run the code. All right, and we can see, yeah, Grok is animating two different planets, Earth and Mars here, and then the green ball is the vehicle that's transiting, the spacecraft that's transitioning between Earth and Mars. And you could see the journey from Earth to Mars, and it looks like, yeah, indeed, the astronauts returned safely, at the right moment in time. So now, obviously, this was just generated on the spot, so we can't tell you if that was actually a correct solution. So we're going to take a closer look. Maybe we're going to call some colleagues from SpaceX, ask them if this is legit.
It's pretty close. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of complexities in the actual orbits that have to be taken into account, but this is pretty close to what it looks like.
As we've named it internally. So okay, we also have an output from Grok here. It says it wrote a Python script, explains that it's what it's been doing. If you look at the code, there's some constants that are being defined here, some colors. Then the tetrominos, the pieces of Tetris are there. Obviously, very hard to see at one glance if this is good. So we gotta run this to figure out if it's working. Well, let's give it a try. Fingers crossed. All right. So this kind of looks like Tetris, but the colors are a little bit off, right? The colors are different here, and if you think about what's going on here, the joule has this mechanic where if you get 3 joules in a row, then they disappear, and also gravity activates, right? So what happens if you get 3 of the colors together? Oh yeah, so something happened. So I think what Grok did in this version is that once you connect at least 3 blocks of the same color in a row, then gravity activates and they disappear, and then gravity activates and all the other blocks fall down. Kind of curious if there's still a Tetris mechanic here where if the line is full, does it actually clear it, or what happens then?
Are we ready for Game Studio at x.ai?
Yes. So we're launching an AI gaming studio at XAI. If you're interested in joining us in building AI games, please join XAI. We're launching an AI gaming studio. We're announcing it tonight. Let's go.
So today we're actually introducing DeepSearch. That is the first generation of our Grok agents that not just helping the engineers and researchers and scientists to do coding, but actually help everyone to answer questions that you have day to day. It's kind of like a next generation search engine that really help you to understand the universe. So you can start asking questions like, for example, hey, when is the next Starship launch day, for example? So let's try that. Let's hit the answer. On the left-hand side, we see a high-level progress bar. Essentially, the model not only just going to do one single search like the current RAG system, but actually thought very deeply about, hey, what's the user intent here? And what are the facts I should consider at the same time? And how many different websites I should actually go and read their content, right? So this can really save hundreds of hours of everyone's Google time if you want to really look into certain topics. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the bullet summaries of how the current model is doing, what websites browsing, what sources verifying, and oftentimes actually cross-validate different sources out there to make sure the answer is actually correct before it's output final answer. And we can, at the same time, fire up a few more queries. How about, Elon, you're a gamer, right? So
sure.
yeah, so how about what are some of the best builds and most popular builds in Python Excel? Hardcore, right? Hardcore League. that
I mean,
right now.
you can technically just look at the hardcore ladder. Might be a fast way to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll see what the model does. And then we can also do, something more fun. For example, how about like make a prediction about the March Madness out there?
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun one where Warren Buffett has a $1 billion bet. If you can exactly match the sort of the entire winning tree of March Madness, you can win $1 billion from Warren Buffett. So like, it would be pretty cool if AI could help you win $1 billion from Buffett. That seems like a pretty good investment.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's fire up the query and see what model does. So we can actually go back to our very first one. How about the...
Buffett wasn't counting on this.
It's already done.
That's right. OK, so we got the result of the first one. The model thought around 1 minute. So the key insight here, the next starship is going to be on 24th or later, so no earlier than February 24th.
It might be sooner.
So I think we can scroll down what the model does. So it does a little research on the Flight 7, what happened, got grounded, and actually it looked into the FCC filing, from its data collections, and then actually it made a new conclusion that if we continue to scroll down, let's see, right, so it makes the little table. I think inside XAI, we often joked about the time to the first table is the only latency that matters. So that's how the model makes the inference and look up all the sources. And then we can look into the gaming one. So how about the... Oh, sorry. Right. So for this particular one, we look at, the build is like an, it's kind of like old meta. Right?
Yeah.
So what the infernal is, but if we go down, so the surprising fact of all the other builds, so it looked into the 12 classes. So we'll see that the Minion build was pretty popular whenever the game first came out, and now the invokers of the world took over.
Monk Invoker for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, followed by the Stormweavers, and that's really good at mapping. So, and then we can see the March Madness. How about that? So, one interesting thing about the deep search is that if you actually go into the panel where it shows, what are the subtasks, you can actually click the bottom left of this, right? And then in this case, you can actually scroll through, actually reading to the mind of Grok. What informations does the model actually think about are trustworthy, what are not? How does it actually cross-validate different information sources? So that makes the entire search experience and information retrieval process a lot more transparent to our users.
Starting with the Premium Plus subscribers on X, so it's the first group that will initially get access. Make sure to update your X app if you want to see all of the advanced capabilities, because we just released the update now as we're talking here. If you're interested in getting early access to Grok, then sign up for Premium Plus. And also, we're announcing that we're starting a separate subscription for Grok that we call Super Grok, for those real Grok fans that want the most advanced capabilities and the earliest access to new features. So feel free to check that out as well.
This is for the dedicated Grok app and for the website.
Exactly.
Grok website.
So our new website is called grok.com.
Yeah.
And you'll also
You'd
find...
never guess.
Yeah, you'd never guess. And you can also find our Grok app in the iOS App Store. And that gives you like a more even more polished experience that's totally Grok-focused. If you want to have Grok easily available, one tap away.
Yeah, and the version on grok.com on a web browser is going to be the latest and most advanced version, because obviously it takes us a while to get something into an app and then get it approved by the App Store. So and then if something's in a phone format, there's limitations to what you can do. So the most powerful version of Grok and the latest version will be the web version at grok.com.
Yeah. So watch out for the name Grok Free in the app.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. That's the giveaway, that you have Grok Free. And if it says Grok True, then Grok Free hasn't quite arrived for yet, but we're working hard to roll this out today. and then to even more people over the coming days.
Yeah, make sure you update your phone app too, where you're actually going to get all the tools we showcased today with the thinking mode, with the deep search. So yeah, really looking forward to all the feedbacks you have.
Yeah, and I think we should emphasize that this is kind of a beta, like meaning that you should expect some imperfections at first, but we will improve it rapidly almost every day. In fact, every day I think it'll get better. So if you want a more polished version, I'd like maybe wait a week, but expect improvements literally every day. And then we're also going to be providing a voice interaction, so you can have conversational. In fact, I was trying it earlier today. It's working pretty well, but needs a bit more polish. The sort of way where you can just literally talk to it like you're talking to a person. That's awesome. It's actually, I think, one of the best experiences of Grok. But that's probably about a week away.